13th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve? Rainey, is there a second? Chris, the corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have donations.
No donations, so it's a quiet month, but, I know we had a bunch from Donors Choose the month before, so.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve payment of the bills for the month of May in the amount of $1,121,906.27?
So,
Matt and Chuck,
yes.
is that you? Okay.
That was reading.
Oh, are you kidding?
It's just cold.
Okay, you got me there. Any questions?
I did have a question, from Katie about 111,000. Because we've had some rather large checks written out the last 2 months. The one was that last month or 2 months ago, that was for teacher laptops.
Teacher laptops and some spares for us that were paid for by Effort. And then this last batch were for student laptops, so it's 2 years worth since we did buy these student laptops.
And there's a lot of times that we do the purchasing of laptops first in July, but we're in a position right now to use some of our ESSER funds, one less audit hopefully in the future by spending ESSER funds in this budget year, and with some other things. So when we're able to do that, it just kind of alleviates a little bit of pressure up on next year's budget.
Right, yeah, I guess I kind of remember talking about that. It seems like every month there's like big bills but because of laptops, and so then like that sort of leads into like how much do we actually spend annually on having all the laptops, right? And I don't even know, like, does every school, like, we were one of the first to do that? Does every school do that?
I would say a vast majority are one-to-one environments. And so everyone kind of has those costs out there. What is our budget yearly, Patty?
So yearly for laptops for students, it runs right around $55,000. Like I said, this is for 2 years worth. And then our teacher ones usually run about 25 to 30. We buy those, one set a year. So this year is a middle school laptop there. And then next year's high school and the year after, it's actually just some office computers. So we actually have a year of office. It's a 4-year rotation. We buy the first, fifth, and ninth every year for students, so they have a laptop that goes through the course. That was part of it.
Yeah, definitely get it. Just like I wonder at what cost on something like that. It's usually
And there was that, and there was, like I said, by Amy last year, so we had students on laptops that were over 5 years old. So this year, half the students are getting laptops, just because of the way it works. This is an outlier year. We won't be doing that again, hopefully, knock on wood. But that's not our goal to do, because it also makes our life difficult with keeping them running.
Any other questions?
I kind of had the same question on the last page, the BSN Sport. It's $12,842, and it's probably uniforms, I'm guessing. It's football. Because it kind of, to echo what Katie was saying, I feel like for uniforms every month, there's a pretty big expense. And how often are we replacing uniforms?
That was actually, we got money back from Fund 21, so they fundraised for part of it. I don't think the bill, but we did get reimbursed for some of that.
Okay.
And there's rotation for uniform also. That also might include, country. That was just,
and BSN is our provider, so you're probably seeing BSN pop up when football gets it, and soccer, and all those, so that'll be one of those contractors that you'll see numerous times throughout the year. We do for apparel, these were ordered off of BSN, so, they're always kind of, by working with one contractor, we feel we get a better deal, by doing it that way, so you'll probably see them many months.
It just seems like it's more this year, so I didn't know if there was a push to replace all the uniforms or how that was working.
And it's part of the schedule, yeah.
One other just quick question that brought to my attention, the forklift, what do we end up doing in that? I know we talked
Yeah.
about.
So
what
the
do we-
forklift, thank you to Chuck. Our Mike in the maintenance group has been looking for a forklift for as long as, I've been here. We have times where we ask Creer to bring their forklift over to take loads off semis. Talked to Lee, they unloaded every one of the touchscreens by hand because we didn't have a forklift. So through this, with a nice partnership with Bemis and some contacts that Chuck were able to get us in touch with, we have a very, very nice refurbished, ready to go forklift at a considerable discount. And something that for the size and what we got and the shape it's at, that was something that was able to be found. Mike found room in his budget, Patty? And we were able to get something that fit his budget that actually will help us. We're gonna be moving a lot of materials here in the next 3 years, and it seemed like a really good time to do that.
Is this with electric?
It's electric, yeah. So it worked out, very nicely with that.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The cash summary,
I didn't have any questions, but you'll see it next month. We were talking in budget and we had a nice surprise with our high, cost transportation this year. So, sometimes budgets, you get surprises for the bad, sometimes you get surprises for the good. And this time we're on the surprise of the good. So, that'll come in around $200,000 more than we thought. So, we'll see the final budget. Patty is back from vacation and now going through the next 45 days that are not summer vacation for her. And we'll have all this stuff closed out and ready to go here, by the time we have our annual meeting in October.
okay, great. Any questions on the cash summary? All right, I don't have anybody down for public comments, but, I'll let you say something if you need to. Okay, Gary. Referendum discussion.
Okay, before I kick it over to Nate here, thank you for being here. And this will be your public comment time too, but before we get to that, just wanted to show you, I'm really excited the way this project is coming together. I'm gonna kick this over to Rini and Chuck. The renderings that we're seeing gets me pretty excited to see where we're at. We have some crucial conversations. We haven't gotten to a point of going out to bid. That will be coming up and why we're having this now. Until we get those bids back, it'll still be kind of a fluid process, but I think I can speak for the entire team. We feel like we're in a good spot from where we're at, but we still have some work to do. So any other updates, Chuck or Rini, you want to talk about before we get to the really exciting part of actually starting to take this out to bid and seeing which one of our friends around in the community want to help us build this? Any updates from you guys?
I would just say that it's been a great pleasure to work with Nate and that whole team. They present such an easy access for us to study things, plan things, and collaborate with others, like the way you have with the members of the school district, teachers, and all the involved participants has been great to get their input. And I believe they must feel the same way, that to be able to provide insight into what's going to happen and what the final project will be. So thanks a lot for all the input from your whole team there. It's been great.
Yeah, I don't know how many, it has to be close to 40 to 100 hours of just when we did the user group meetings and having everybody come in. But I feel like everyone left feeling like they were listened to as we were talking about their individual areas. Reenie, anything you want to add?
Well,
before-
I guess about the user groups, I just appreciate talking to teachers and people in the community to try and make sure that what we're doing is going to be what the teachers, staff, community, what we need. And I think we've had some very thorough discussions, very specific. It's been interesting, and hopefully we've thought of everything as we made those decisions. We've had some interesting, unique discussions that I didn't expect, but it's been really good, and I think it's all been really important and very thoughtful.
And even those discussions, I think, helped build excitement with others when, okay, I was listened, I was heard, or this decision was made for this reason, but at least I got to have a voice. So I do think it was important. It was some long days, but we got here, and now we get to start talking about that next step. So, Nate, you want to talk a little bit about our thoughts around how we're going to find the contractor that's going to help us with it?
Yes, good evening and thanks for having me here. I touched base with Mr. Turnberger, and this is included in your packet this evening. We call this an RFQ, or request for qualifications. In that, the items identified in yellow or say highlighted are areas that would be basically swapped out for different construction firms, dates that it would go out, etc. But every firm would get the same amount of information, trying to keep it clean across the board. So within here, just a brief synopsis of the project description. It's public knowledge that the school district went to referendum for $29.9 million. It's important to identify the schedule, but really the biggest pieces are the areas on the screen. So one of the things we like to, to a degree, this is a request for proposal, but they're not providing a cost at this point, right? They're just providing their qualifications. So providing contact, it might be a local contact, someone that lives in the district, right? Sometimes if they have that connection, they would include such and may incentivize you to choose or perhaps not choose them. That is your choice. I would say most often choose. And then information of being able to bond associated to the project. There may be some interested parties that have maybe never done more than $1.5 million job. Well, they still want to have the opportunity to perhaps do this project, but it's important to be able to say, this is the biggest bond we've received to date, this is what we're able to bond, and that way we're making sure that, I don't know all the construction companies out there, but Smith's Construction, that has never done a $20 million project, has the ability to do a $20 million project. So that's an important line item. Insurance, self-explanatory, personnel assigned to the project, experience, and then number 6 is a really crucial one, especially for this project. So construction within an occupied school. If they can provide an example of working in a school district with multiple phased instances of construction, that is going to be at least a key piece for the BRAE team as we review these. And if you look for our advice, having that experience is definitely going to be worthwhile. It does not mean if they do not have that you should not include them. But if they have that experience, it's definitely a perk in the resume. Some references and then proof of registration. The next item there, post-bid meeting interview, just simply is a little bit of a bullet point that if desired, we can send this out to bid to the pre-qualified contractors and then have an interview with them post-bid. So we keep the numbers kind of to ourselves and then have that conversation with them. How comfortable are they with, a heavily phased construction project, staffing, all of those different things. A lot of the times, put that in there, we maybe have a meeting, but oftentimes that meeting gets skipped because we feel like we have a good partner at that point in time. We do put in questions, clarifications, that they do not reach out to Mike Turnberger or any of you, right, that they're reaching out to us. We don't want to put any of you in an interesting position if one contractor is reaching out to you directly. And then we are looking for qualifications. It usually comes in a binded binder, more or less, addressed to Mr. Trimmer's name. And then we would have that by Monday, August 14th, which then I believe would then come to this board meeting the 21st. Is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
So you would have some opportunity to look over that, either potentially a physical paper copy or a digital copy for about a week. We could move that up if desired, but then the goal would be is to have a selected list of contractors coming out of the board meeting in August. Just for big picture sake, we are sending this project plan to send out to bid middle of October and then receive bids before all the contractors go sit in the deer stands. So we would have about a month progress window where they would bid. In that window, they would come on site, they would review the conditions, but we would receive bids before season opens. I know it seems like an interesting little deadline there, but if we don't do it then, we will not receive bids until the middle of December. We lose 2 weeks and then we end up losing 3 or 4. So that just a little bit of piece there. Any questions on this? Any revisions you would like to see associated to the RFQ request for qualifications?
So it's kind of a big step, and I asked Nate if he'd just come in and kind of explain it. This is the first step of the next phase, right? Who do we want to bid on this? And then once we know who we want to bid on it, then that hard number, because remember, we went a different route with this. We could have gone and selected somebody earlier, and then they would have been in all the planning meetings. We thought it was a better position to do this and then have a hard bid. So, as of right now, I think we still made the right decision. I'll let you know sometime in November, right, late October, when they come back. We'll see where we're at. But no, it's
Just for clarification, like, we talked about, we'll probably select 5, is that what we're thinking?
I would say,
Qualified, or what's that number we're thinking about?
well, I would send out to at least 4 or 5. Ideally, we send out, I think the list that we came up with in a core planning team meeting was about 6. So there's 3 in Sheboygan County, there's 1 or 2 in the Milwaukee area, and there's 1 or 2 up in the valley that are all relatively bidding contractors. I can go through those names if you desire, but I don't want to leave anybody out. So we thought of 6 pretty quickly in our core planning team meeting. I would suggest to at least get qualification statements from as many as we possibly can. I would say that in the event that you pre-qualify, I'll just say 4, okay, there's a chance that you will only get 2 or 3 bids. So when they submit their qualification statements, they don't know who also is submitting, and they don't also know who is getting awarded the qualification statement that ends up going into the bid documents. They find that out, when the bid documents go out to bid. So inside there'd be a list of contractors eligible to bid on the project. I should have clarified, this is just for general contractors. So they are then responsible for plumbing, mechanical, drywallers, all of those different trades. We're just pre-qualifying general contractors. And I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but
Kind of what I was trying to get at, I didn't ask the question correctly, but ultimately, we're really expecting maybe 2 or 3 bids, actual, this is what it's gonna cost you in contractors, correct?
yeah,
We're
so
gonna
just
qualify more
for-
people, but
we've gone through this situation a couple of times, well, a handful of times over the last couple of years, but 2 that I've been a part of. 2 years ago, we pre-qualified 4 contractors, 2 bid. A year later, so a year ago, we pre-qualified 5 contractors and 3 bid. So you get to that point, and then they realize, oh, that so-and-so is in the game. And then they kind of look at their ability to do work, their aggressiveness of work oncoming, and they kind of make a decision at that point. So that's why I suggest to try to at least get as many pre-qualifications as you can, and then we can have a good conversation in August how many you want to pre-qualify. My suggestion would be is trying to at least pre-qualify 4, but if we don't have 4, then that we're comfortable with, then we can have that conversation.
And to clarify, it doesn't necessarily go to the lowest bid. I'm seeing under the post-bid meeting interview, that line about it's the best combination of experienced team members, local participation, and low cost. So it's not based solely on the dollar amount.
Yeah, correct. Under Wisconsin statute, you are not required to take the low bid, even in this instance here. So, most oftentimes you do, but, in the event that we come in $1.5 million under that budget and you have the option and they're real close to each other and you wanna choose, you know, what you think might be a better team or a better solution. I'm not suggesting that we're $1.5 million under budget, but in that event, right, then yes, you do not achieve the low bid. Any other questions? Happy to, if you want to absorb this, for a little while here, we don't need to send this out as soon as possible. So if there's any wording, that you would like to have slightly tweaked, I don't know how that would go through the approval process, but over the next couple of weeks, we have a little bit of time to make any adjustments.
We do have it as a board action. If we're good with it, we can also make an action and go forward. Or if you want some tweaking, you can make that part of your motion to say, can I vote, you know, to approve, but can we tweak this, if we want to keep it going forward.
Our experts down there.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve the request for qualifications letter. Is that how I should say it?
Sure.
No,
Sounds good.
And I second it. I
And
think
Chuck seconds it.
Well,
All right. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add one more thing. It shouldn't change anything that you guys are about to do. But just be known that although we identified 6 in the core plan and team meeting that we planned to attend to, we will be posting this to general bidders, website where they can access this link. And then therefore request the request for qualifications letter. So it's a little bit of an odd process, but we will be posting this statewide in the event that there's a contractor that maybe we did not think about that is interested in the project. So again, trying to get as many qualifications as possible.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Building reports.
Right, you should have an attachment to your packet, which is the final AGR report for this school year.
Yay, I got the microphone. If you take a look at the fall data and compare it to the spring data, there are some pretty impressive numbers in there for the number of students not only that are no longer below the 25th percentile, but also the number of students that have risen above the 75th percentile. If I can remind you, AGR is the Achievement Gap Reduction Grant that we get from the state of Wisconsin, and it requires that we monitor class sizes. If class size ratios go above 18:1, we have to do some additional instructional coach time, and then we have to monitor the student data in grades kindergarten, first, second, and third, a minimum of 3 times a year. So this is the final AGR document, and I think it's quite impressive.
So Katie, you had a question about the percentages in PPR. And I figured it's best for you to ask the person that put the report together. Can you kind of share what that question is?
Yeah, so at the bottom, so I'm just looking at the laptop, like the spring,
The spring data?
where it says, so like for K reading, got 95% of students advance one or more quartiles. Right? So it says that kind of thing on all of them, but on some of them, like I guess I'm assuming that that number is actually coming from how many were still in the lowest quartile at the end of the year, should that be
That is correct.
right? But I don't think that that's actually how you would figure out how many might have moved quartiles.
That's how the state asks for it,
But like if somebody started in the top quartile, right, they never advanced, they stayed in the top.
but their score went up. They did remain in that top quartile, yes, but we don't have anybody whose scores went down. That's how the state asks for us to report it. I understand how you think that that's wonky, and I think it's wonky too, but that's how we're asked to report it.
I guess it doesn't make sense to say that they advanced the quartile.
I see where you're coming from, but I'm just following what the state is asking us to do.
I mean, I don't have the background to know. That seems like it's not saying actually. Calculated?
Sure. Any other questions on the AGR report? That's part of the statute for AGR. I do, on the side, monitor all the way up through 8th grade because that's how we have the Adventum Exact Path scores, and they continue to look pretty good.
And EGR, one of the things, we used to call it SAVE back when I was in elementary principal. It's extra funding that allows us to do lower classes. And for that money from the state, we make reports, show this report's so old as time, yeah.
All right, then the next bulleted item, if there are no additional AGR questions, I just wanted to give you a Blue Ribbon School of Excellence update. We did receive some additional information from BRSE. There are 19 schools across the United States that have reached that lighthouse status, and we are 2 of them. So I think that's pretty cool also. We are well underway with our summer curriculum projects. We have instructional coaches that are meeting with each one of the teams that has asked to work on curriculum materials for the summer. And they've been turning in their gold sheets for their hours, and the goals that they have for themselves are pretty outstanding. The writing team, for example, just finished up today, and that was a K-12 vertical PLC group. So they were trying to do a scope and sequence for what writing should look like in each one of those grade levels and courses in the high school.
If I can add, I got a chance to talk to some PLC coaches today, so teachers across the district that teach reading sat down and started talking about rubrics, like what are their expectations at the different grades. That's where the rubber hits the road. When in second and third grade, understand the differences and the nuances and what we're looking for in grade. That's a really, really colorful. So we're fortunate to have money in the budget to have these. I would say this year, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, I feel like we have more teachers engaged in this, more that are doing it. These are powerful meetings that are going on, and really, really good conversations, talking to our coaches. Like, you know what, there was just good discourse about what they should expect of these different grades and helping teachers understand how they're each helping each other and sort of sequence of learning. So we have another good day today to just continue building our craft and making sure that we're being as efficient as possible. Our little writers from kindergarten all the way up to our big writers that are graduating. We're on a journey, not a destination, really, you know, and every time we hit something else, it triggers something else. So when we went back, we talked about things like power standards. That was the first framework, like what are the big expectations? What's a statement that says, these are the 10 things you're gonna learn in ELA in second grade? And that took a process. But now we're doing this with these 10 standards. A rubric lets us more clearly define what assessment we need to make this look like. So even 7 words that say a student can write a persuasive essay. Now, when you say persuasive essay, that looks different in 6th grade than 11th grade, and now we're able to really look at the rubric style to it. So it's big pieces and going down, and we're really doing the mini stuff, and we're never done, because we're gonna go and review all this really good work, and we're gonna see some of our state data with really good year, and we have a gap here, and then the groups need to get back together about how we do that. So, the old days of professional development being shipped them off somewhere and learn from somebody else is now we learn from each other and we get strong. Finding more and more. Which is fortunate because a lot of districts like Middle Seat and they have that choice. But here it's great to see libraries filled with people getting ready for school.
Any other questions on the summer curriculum work? I'm happy to report that this is week 2 of session 1 of summer school. The next session will begin on July 10th. It'll be another 2-week session, and then we will have 1 week of jumpstart closer to the beginning of the school year. Under strong culture, I chose to focus on some of our traditions. We had the senior walk on the day before graduation, where our seniors were able to walk the halls of their entire school, and quite a few of them have been here for their whole school career. And it was awesome to see the little kids cheering for brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles, and it was awesome to see the big kids with those big smiles on their face because they were excited. Graduation, obviously, that's a tradition, and it's a tradition in every school, but I think ours is pretty special. Very proud of all of the seniors that walked this year. Also, we had promotion ceremonies from our daycare to our 4K and 5K to our 8th grade, all the way up through our seniors. So, you know, our kids have earned it, so let's celebrate their promotions all along. And our end of the year celebration. In case the board doesn't know, our teachers get together on the last day of school, right before checkout begins, and we celebrate milestones for staff members as well. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. I think we have some person who's up in the 40s. And we say goodbye to those that are leaving us for various reasons, and we celebrate all the things that we've accomplished throughout the year. It really lets the staff leave on a really awesome, pleasant, positive note.
15 years.
10. It's her 10 bonus years.
10 bonus years. Very professional. So yeah, she's getting 15 years, 40 years.
And under strong community connections, I probably was mentioned earlier, but a big shout out to Career Foods. They donated hundreds of dollars worth of aluminum that went towards our 4th graders' field trip to Madison, taking the double-decker bus. It was an amazing donation. It was awesome. I know Susan's not here, and I know that she normally does some notable mentions, so I tried my best to do my notable mentions. Kudos to the girls' softball team. They were sectional qualifiers this year. And, of course, kudos to our boys' baseball team, who were state qualifiers, despite the weather.
All right, moving on to board committee reports. Budget committee met tonight.
I'll take a little bit just to kind of, and I have a little bit in my informational items. We got a chance to talk about where our budget is. If you noticed last week, Thursday, there was an announcement about the biennium budget. And one of the things that, you know, we are, and I've been saying this a lot over the last few years, we are a low per pupil allocation. So we've been at the base. And although there's winners and losers in public education with this biennium, Random Lake is one of the, I would say, winners. So being a frugal district that has been doing what we have with 10,000 over the next 2 years, we can go up to as much as $1,325. So we'll have talks about how, the implications. We don't know exactly. It's still fresh. It hasn't been signed. But I can tell you right now, we're looking at, and that has, that information has informed some of the decisions we're going to be making later on, especially around teacher base wage increase and some of those other things. So, so yeah, that was some positive news. Now we just hope the governor signs it before Wednesday.
And, teacher negotiations met as well.
We met and we have some notifications and actually we
I don't think you're gonna get there in time,
got a
buddy.
phone. Time.
No, no, you can't.
Phyllis,
Hmm. Nope,
Good entertainment.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
You just didn't jump up.
yeah.
Good for your heart.
Yeah, something like that shouldn't cause so much anxiety. Like, oh no, our screen's shutting down.
Okay, next we have, second, you were done with negotiations, right?
Yes.
Just, okay, for now. Next, we have second reading and approval of the, policies for 8600, 8800, and 8802 that were presented for, first readings last month. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Rini, is there a second? Katie, any, questions, discussion?
So there are some questions about this, and Katie, you want to kind of talk about some of the questions that you've had with this?
But yeah, so just a couple questions, I should have probably had these last time. So the 8600 policy is the new one, it's transportation.
Yep.
So it says something about like, kids can get kicked out of transportation as the. Mine was color coded, so I think the like, yeah, it can be revoked.
It's down a little bit.
And then it talks about the administrative
Talks about, yeah,
guidelines.
Yeah, that bottom paragraph there.
Yeah, so district administrators, administrative guideline for the code of conduct, like, do we actually have that written somewhere? Do we know what that is?
So as the policy piece here, our next task is to do administrative guidelines. So our goal is to get to them this year. We'll see. The summer's been busy with other things, and we punted. I think we punted we were actually started them. We started planning to do them before the COVID year, and then it just has kind of gone. So our goal is, policies are great. Administrative guidelines are better for us, right? Because it kind of gives us an agreement to go forward. So now we have Becky on board. It seems like a really good time to really start doing that. So we have them in here. We will have administrative guidelines in the future. I'm not promising when the future is, but that's our next to do when it comes to policy stuff.
So what happens like this year, if somebody does something that would give them revoked?
My sort of, we do have practices in place. They're in our handbooks. And those are gonna be reviewed moving forward based on the wording of this policy to make sure we remain in compliance.
Does that happen a lot? Like, do you end up with?
You know what? We've had,
I had 4 this year.
but are permanent or they're all temporary.
I have no.
And I will tell you, when it comes to transportation, the best thing we ever did is put cameras on the bus with microphones. We have caught behavior. We've had in situations before we had this, or in my previous life at other places, a lot of he said, she said, did this on the bus. Not here. We've caught some pretty nasty conversations on the bus and had very hard data on what happened and had very crucial conversations with parents and kiddos. But I will tell you, it's always, here's your consequence that you earned. We want to transport you. In many cases, that 1 week, 2 week, 3 week suspension goes a long way in making sure that we're holding the line. So I feel very comfortable with how we've been doing it. And I think our bus behavior is at a point of some of the best I've had in 20 years having to deal with buses. Now, still happens. And it's amazing how our little kiddos sometimes forget that there's cameras and stuff going. But I don't know, Sandy, anything you want to add?
First off, don't jinx us.
Yeah, I know.
But it's hard to deny when the feet are what you see rather than the head, that something was going on. And I usually start off by showing the video to the kid. We're here to talk about the bus, what do you have to tell me? I don't know. Let's watch. Sit back and sit back.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, so then, 8,800 then, was this one?
Oh, the patriotic ceremonies, yeah.
So I don't know, like, ceremonies, activities, it's all one word there, like, I think there's a couple places that happens, which I think is from editing issues, I don't know if that's something that could just kind of fix once stuff gets.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a paragraph that has, the colors can help me actually, so the one where it says,
Right there. The board acknowledges
Yeah.
that it's prohibited from, that sentence doesn't make sense.
right, so the board acknowledges it's prohibited from adopting any, students are prohibited, right, something's missing there. So I
Okay.
don't know what that meant to say, so that was one of them. And then the all green paragraph at the top, like it's on the top right now, it has nothing in this policy prohibits teaching, right, so that one. And it's kind of, I mean, it's all right, sort of legally, so I'm not quite sure what some of them are getting at, but some of them, sort of the middle of that one, this instruction may include discussion of religious holidays and customs, in a manner related to curriculum that does not give the appearance of endorsement of one religion over other religions or favoring either a system or religious beliefs. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that's trying to say. And I guess, so that maybe needs some wordsmithing to make it more clear what it's trying to say. And also, I'm concerned that especially the last sentence there, might be trying to say that at our Christmas concert, they can't choose Christian-based music. Or something, yeah, and I don't think it should say that. Right, like, we have the Hallelujah Chorus thing, that's a big tradition here, we've got all,
Yeah, and that's not, I don't think that's the essence, I think that's not the essence of this. When I read that last sentence, it's saying that any religious holidays through, worshipped or devotion exercise, or like actually praying in there as part of a, exercise. But that doesn't mean we can't have Christmas songs and things like that, so. Again, a lot of lawyers get together and talk about this. I'm not sure. I'm going to send it back to Kim about what that sentence means. This really came from, there's a Supreme Court ruling where a coach, and we talked about this last month, where a coach prayed after the game and other students came around and prayed, and the admin of that school asked him not to do it. He still did it and then ended up getting terminated for it. And it sent the lawyers in a tizzy on what can we do, what can't we do, what can we promote, what are things. And it really was found like this praying was done on his own time, even though it was right after a football game and he went back and worked with the team, it's allowed to do those things. So this is their way of trying to clarify it. There's nothing here. This is not advocating to get away from Christmas songs and using Christmas in school and all those other things. This is just their reaction to the Supreme Court, that honestly, the Supreme Court came back more favorable to these kind of religious traditions, as long as it's not like worship and things like that.
Enforce people.
Yeah.
But I guess my worry is that some student or some parent or somebody can read that, the paragraph that we were just talking about, and say, you're not allowed to have my kid in choir singing. Right, Christmas, but hymns are devotional. And I guess I hesitate to have something in a policy that says that we absolutely will not allow it. I don't think that's how I feel.
I agree with your concern.
Yeah.
But are you saying, Mike, you don't think that's prohibiting any of this?
With where the Supreme Court came down with that, they came down very, I would say on the basis, I was surprised because I think there was always an understanding in my law classes, you have to be very cautious about these type of things. You have to allow the freedom of religion and you have to do some of those. But the act of a coach praying with kids at a public school, it wasn't in Wisconsin, it was out of Wisconsin, had me kind of like curious how it was, and I feel like the Supreme Court came down in favor of those type of activities of, this is still your freedom of speech, these are these things. But they're trying to make that line, through this on what is freedom of speech, what are things we can do, and what is actually indoctrination, and I think they're trying to thread this needle between these two, and make it as clear as mud in the process in some ways. So yeah, with all the things I know, I have no concerns with that. But again, it's interpretive reading, and you can read it and say, we're gonna do this. I think we should be, we are who our community is. And this wouldn't tell me that we aren't gonna do the things that our community should.
What leeway do we have in changing this? I mean, this verbiage was given to us, we didn't write this verbiage.
Yeah, this is mostly handed down by lawyers. There's 86 lawyers in Neola that go there and then say, hey, this is our thought from here. So there's something wrong with that wording that we're gonna look at. I'm not sure. There's a word in there missing that somehow might have got transcribed somewhere. But as far as all these things, and what happened is, you see it's religious and patriotic ceremonies. Because of this ruling, they actually pulled out religious as a policy and patriotic as a different one, because they felt like there was different nuances. And this is patriotic activities and observances is a brand new policy pulled out of the other one, trying to get to a point of clarification.
Yeah. So where it says ban patriotic ceremonies, because it's colored red, it means it goes away.
Yeah.
Should be a line through it to kind of show that too. So
But I think that's getting replaced with activities, then, right? So like religious activities and observances, maybe is the
yeah, I
title of
think
that
that's
one?
what it's supposed to be. And then we have 8802, which is patriotic activities, which is the other.
Is this one, and this is another question, but it has a page break after it, like this makes it look like that whole part got deleted, because that obscenity space,
I
but
think
it's
it's the way-
actually there, so I don't know if that's something.
I think it's the way that it was sent to Cam. And then,
Basically the same as it was, it just kind of goes on.
If we'd like to bring it back and throw it back to the committee for next month, none of this is pressing, right? We're just trying to stay on top of everything and keep moving on as Neola throws us stuff. So if you'd like us to clean it up and bring it back next month and have a policy committee, I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
Katie, are you on that committee? Okay.
Who's on policy?
You're on policy, aren't you?
I might be on policy, but I don't remember reading through this whole thing, and I would have read the whole thing if I was on.
Amy,
Oh,
Gina.
okay.
That's good.
But I was doing the same thing when I read that last sentence about like our concerts, because there's certain pieces of music that could be, somebody might interpret it this way. But in my mind, I was thinking, that's not an actual like worship service. They're performing a piece. So I thought that doesn't really fit, but the concern, came to mind for me. But I was thinking of it, no, this is, we could say that's a performance.
So,
That's how I justified
No, I
it.
agree, it just like, I wonder, in 20 years, when that policy's read, and none of us are still, well, some of you might be on the board, I don't. I don't wanna make any assumptions, but then, like, if somebody's complaining about it then, like, we've accepted a policy that somebody might interpret that way. But I don't know how to make it, I don't know how to change it.
well, I think
Do
we
they
can
have
ask, I
definitions
mean,
of the devotion?
She'll still be here, if that makes sense.
no,
Yeah.
stop it. I said, I think we can ask,
Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
And we can, actually, we have a new Neola person that's coming in. Maybe we can see if we can get the policy committee together and have Gene Bourne, who is a superintendent for many years in Falls, is going to be our new Neola person that is really good at policies. So we want to have her come in and do that. That's part of why we have that, to make sure that we're on top of these things, and also that they are true depictions of what we're trying to do as an organization. So, no, it's part of the whole piece of this. I'm happy that we just keep taking the next step forward. This will back up some other ones, but honestly, as long as we don't get sued for our religious practices, what we have now isn't the end of the world either. We're still much more updated than we were a few years ago before we went through this journey.
I'd like to ask our Sergeant of Arms how we handle a first and second, but we want to hold it.
You have two options. Either table the vote for the next meeting, or you can vote it down. If you vote it down, it take it up again in the future, it cannot be identical.
Okay,
So something would have to be changed in the wording.
so if we table it, does it, when we come back, let's say, next month, do we do a first and second again, or?
That was gonna be my question. If we table it, we can come back with a second.
Correct,
If we vote it down, we'll have to come back with a first and a
Correct.
second. It would be my,
correct.
So we need a motion approval.
Correct.
Move it with this
Yes. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all right.
there's a new one.
Thank you.
Thanks for making.
Are you gonna put me on speed dial?
Yeah, oh, yeah, we're
Yeah.
just, we're gonna have you on
Or
the link.
watching football?
Yeah, we're gonna make you watch the link, and then when it's, phone a friend,
Beep, 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 beep.
Well, that won't work, it's like 2 minutes behind.
oh.
So that you
No,
don't hit the
no.
double.
You edited this week.
It's just the way.
Yeah,
Okay, next we have the approval of the 2023-24 WIA membership renewal. Is there a motion to renew? Katie, is there a second?
I'll second.
Matt, this does show that as the soccer as being co-ops.
What's the difference between a contact co-op and a?
we don't contact them.
I mean, this.
I don't know. I seen that too. I don't have Brandon here. I'm not
I
sure.
think contact is the one that we're in charge of.
Oh, that makes it, because they're different for the two
Oh,
suckers, right?
yeah,
And I'm-
yeah.
Oh,
But we're in charge of boys, right?
Yes.
And they're in charge
so
of
I think
girls.
We're the ones.
Lee,
He's coming in.
coming out of the IT world, I
Wow.
tell ya. Wow. June is Lee's month.
Yes.
All right. Did we have a first and second? I got sidetracked there. All right, any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The food service fees for 23-24. This is, just for breakfast. The others are staying the same. Is there a motion to approve a 25-cent for the, elementary increase? And others.
I'm sorry.
Chuck,
Yes.
second? Katie, any questions or discussion?
You can see up there, it says, one of the things Amy would like to do is offer free breakfast. We don't know if we'll be able to. So these fees will be out there for that. We'll see what happens once Patty gets done with closing up the books and all that other good stuff. But as you can imagine, as we all see, our groceries are going up, right? And it's more and more expensive to buy this. Amy does a fantastic job of doing everything she can, and you know, when she asks for these type of things, it's pretty understandable.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the daycare fees that have been corrected with the half-days for 23 and 24. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Who is that? Chris. All right, any questions or discussion?
There were some discussions about the half-days. And where we're at, first of all, I just want to give a kudos to our entire Rams Care staff. We are fully staffed. And we have a really great crew that are doing some really good things. And because we have a really great crew that are doing great things, we're full. You're gonna find out here in the coming month or 2 months that our daycare is now gonna be expanding to after-school services for this fall. We're working with the licensing to make our cafeteria a place where we can do after-school care. We have 2 people that have accepted that position, and we'll be able to put upwards of 20 students in that area and make that a fun place for our kids to hang out and a safe place for our parents to keep their students. When that happens, we may not open up full half days, but in talking to Deanna today, the drop-in hours are something that will be available, as we can, but right now, because we're full with full-time people, and because of some of the increases in salary and some of the other things we've done to keep up with inflation, this is what we need to keep the doors on. To be 100% transparent, the last couple months, Patty knows, we've been running in a deficit. The nice thing is the daycare had a fund balance. And, you know, we contracted with Laura Klingelhoots to help us guide us through this. We brought in really good people to help transition, and we're in a good place. It's cost us more money, but in the long run, it's gonna give us an even more, quality daycare. Deanna's found some awesome staff that are like 14, rating 14, and if you don't know what that means, it means, in daycare, as you get your level up, that helps bring the level of the daycare up. And we should be in the near future, I'm not sure what that means, 3 months, 6 months, a year, we will be increasing, Rams Care up to a 3-star and hopefully even higher from there. So good things are happening here. I'll be honest with you, we may have to look at adding on to it because, we're in a daycare desert in this area. There isn't a lot of available. And last I heard, we have a waiting list, and you know what? Rams Care is always meant to be, start your child off here when they're young and keep them here until they graduate, because you got a pretty good opportunity here. And I would say it's really moving. We've had a lot of successes. I just don't want to forget this. This one, was a journey, but, it's been the last couple of months have been really, really good in the team.
And if I could add, the fact that we have Rams Care has helped us with our overnight numbers.
What is the population, when you say we're full at Ramsey, what is our population of students there?
So babies, we have somewhere between 6 and 8 kids in one room.
It's based on age levels,
Right,
because the ratios are different at different levels. We would have to add up each one of those age level categories to find out what their capacity is right now. And that's based on staffing availability, size, equipment, all of those different components.
I'm looking for like a general number, because I know some part-time, full-time, but are we talking, are there 30 kids going there, are there 40 kids, are there 20 kids, I mean, just.
Well, I would say, if you talk about total number of kids that are impacted by Rams Care, taking after school and everything else, the number that pops in my head is around 40 to 45. Because I know we had after school, we were up to 30 some after school kids, and that is a great number. So we're trying to offload those back into the school. It's a good problem to have. We're looking for space in the school to offload, how packed it is down there. So I can get an exact number for you.
Well, I just,
Mhm.
in my mind, and I realize there's different categories, some people might go 2 days a week, 2.5 days a week, but just generally.
Patty, you see the budget? What is the number that popped in your head? Yeah.
I know there's a lot of classrooms are full.
Yeah.
They're only allowed so many kids per teacher.
Right.
And staff.
Trying to think of how many, I was up there yesterday, trying to think how many. It's, well, 30 at least, and it was pretty full. Every time I'm up there, kids are.
Good, I know it's come a long way, just from what I've heard, when I first started on the board. Real concerns that addressed.
Yeah.
And you didn't offer before and after school for a while, now you're starting up again, is that what you're saying?
We have it. We do
Oh.
offer it.
Okay.
We do have before and after, but the after-school, care has gotten so popular, we can't continue to have it down there.
Oh,
So,
okay.
It's outgrown.
it's outgrown that space,
I
so, like, again, that's a really nice problem to have. Yep.
So then kids who take advantage of that on the days that we don't have school, that's what the no school days part is, right? Like, is that for students who normally would have been in it, or can anybody use it? Like, you know what I mean?
You can have drop-in hours, so
So
I,
then you'd pay $7.50.
750 if you're a drop-in. No school days before and after school is 5 cents, so if there's no school, it's 575 before and after, yeah.
Do they keep them then from 7:30 to 3? Like, so the days that there's not school. Am I not reading that right? Like,
Yeah. Usually you do that right.
all right, that's right. Oh,
And as I read it, before and after school, so if you just have your child here from 6 to 7:30, it's 575, right, on a no school day? But during the 7:30 to 3, it would go back to the drop-in rate, and then after 3 o'clock, it would probably go down to 575. I don't know, I could get that clarified for you.
Yeah.
Because before and after school would be a different rate than during the day. So,
yeah, because there's so many different alternatives. and how people are doing it.
home daycare.
Is the budget, if you can stick with the budget, will it be in the black at the end of the year? I mean, all
We
things,
had a lot of discussions, I've had discussions with Deanna, and we're gonna see where we're heading this year. Because she does have fund balance that she can fund this year. But
okay,
I said going forward, it's pretty strict policy that you have to stay in the black. So this is where the new pricing came, she actually worked really hard on this stuff, make sure that this would cover her expenses and staff benefits.
I think we've talked, this is Fund 80, if funds are available. Go in there, but
No, we don't fund it,
we don't fund it, but
we have
it's,
standalone,
they're standalone, but it's recognized in Fund 80?
yes. They live in funding.
So it's like a little business inside of Fund 80, yes. That has zero tax impact because they are making their own. So it will be in the black because they have extra money to take out of savings to get to where we are. For this year, it'll be red, but covered through their own savings from that.
And
And
that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
If they don't meet their budget, then where does that money come from? Right now, they have extra.
Next year, we'll be working really closely together.
And there has been some things at the state level to help because daycare is not a money-making venture. You, right now, one teacher can watch 4 babies. So if you look at infant, right, and you figure out, okay, 5 days a week, that means that's $1,200 a week is the most we will make off of one teacher and a baby. You start figuring what it is to pay for that teacher, pay for, their insurance and everything else. It's pretty thin. So we're lucky, we're not trying to spin a profit off of this. We're trying to make this as a convenient place for our community to bring their children and can get used to bringing them to Random Lake. But yeah, when inflation hits, you'll see anywhere daycare has been impacted quite significantly and, you know, we purposely push this off. We know we may possibly be losing money for the next few months, but we want to give families enough time to get their budgets with this. So this will not come into effect till August 31st. And just letting everybody know, hey, this is coming. We apologize. We're trying to be as efficient as possible. But it's the times we're in.
And this is like sort of standard, are we afraid that we'll lose?
Looking comparatively against others, I asked Deanna to really look at others. Laura has helped with this too, making sure that, I think we're actually under what Laura's charging at her daycare now. She's a 4-star, 5-star kind of thing, so she can ask more. But yeah, from everything I remember hearing in the conversations, this is under what Laura, and her daycare is asking, so.
As our rating goes up,
If we choose, right,
that's the goal.
yeah.
So, sorry, so drop in, is really for people who don't normally use their vacation, right? And so, and right now you're saying when people have any drop-in for anybody under.
But you never know, yeah,
Like
and,
eventually we might add that, but right now
Yeah.
we don't have the ability.
right. And there are different times where families are gone on vacation or stuff like that, so I think they're trying to be as flexible as possible with all the different opportunities that are out there in a week's time.
All right, are there any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The notification of the 23-24 hourly staff base wage schedule is, that you, Mike?
Yep, so, I talked a little bit about the state biennium budget, though it hasn't been signed. July is when we like to, talk about raises with our staff. So right now, we are looking at doing a 4% increase for all salaried and support staff. This is a place we feel is the minimum, we would want to do, as we get to understand what our budget really looks like. This may be something that, we'll look for other opportunities if we can afford it, but we wanted to make sure our staff knew at least before we went into July 1st, this was their, raises coming. So, we feel very confident, even without a signed budget, that we will be able to afford this, and truly hoping that we can continue to add to this so people can see that we're putting our value into our staff and into our salary schedule.
All right,
So Mike, I had a question about the transportation one. So the $25 per route, like how long does a route take? Is that,
So, and I talked to Kim a little bit about that. It's really $50 a route. Why, this is how Rachel wants it. I have to get clarification why it is. So a route is, by the time you do your pre-check, you do everything else, it comes to about 2 hours. So it's about $25 an hour for whatever transportation reason she wanted to be said this way. So it's really $50 a route, and then it's about it's $17 an hour for our staff that are driving to different extracurricular activities, things like that. So the route is a specific reason why it's in there, but it's really, per hour is how our staff are paid.
it wouldn't be more clear to say $25 per hour for routes and $7 per hour for extracurricular?
I would have preferred it say $50 a route. I don't know why. Rachel had asked for it to be put that way. I have no idea why. So,
But it still seems kind of like it should say 50. Right? It still seems like then it should, if it's $50 per route, then it seems like that's what it should say. I don't know, I mean, I guess if I were looking at that, I'd be like, so it takes 2 hours to drive a route, I'm not doing that. $25, right?
Right.
And then the 17 makes it seem like you're gonna take the soccer team to a game, you're gonna get paid $17 like for 4 hours.
and that's not what they're getting paid. I think it's done for very specific reasons, yeah.
They don't care.
okay, then that takes us into the salaried staff compensation. Anything else on that one?
Same
Okay,
thing for
different.
salaried staff as I would say for our support staff.
All right. Any questions on that? Next, we have, teacher's base wage for 23-24.
So this is a little different, than what we had talked about at the retreat. I've been telling everybody, even up until the last day of school, 4% is what we were looking at, for our teaching staff, but I also have been very, vocal with what we would like to have our base rate at in 2 years. And the goal is to have 45,000 as our base rate for teachers, by the time we get to the 24-25 school year. 45, the number that just came out, locally in Sheboygan County, the livable wage is $45,000. Livable wage means that you can go to work, you can pay your bills, you can have a vacation, you can live. And we are right now at 41 and some change. So we went from 4 to 4.5 because that's halfway to where we want to get to our 45. And with this, it was an opportunity when we felt confident about what the budget would do. It gets us a little further there. So, this is our recommendation for our teaching staff with the understanding that we will be coming again next year, trying to get to at least 45, if not, a smidge over.
Matt, do you, anything you wanna add? Okay. Yeah, all right. And, is there a second? Katie? Questions or discussion? I know we did talk about in, the committee that it was a sustainable, not that we're only looking at this year and next year, you know, that this is something that we can sustain over time for a base wage. Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
So our current base wage for a starting teacher is 42.9, is that right?
I thought it was 41,125. Right?
This, I think it's, the 42.9 is after the addition.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
that 1850.
So,
Oh, okay, so with this change.
Yeah, it'll be up to 42.9, yeah.
And that cell increase, that's like talking about all the different activities they can help with to improve or to. Yeah, I'm not at a loss for what I'm saying, but you know, that's like a, you know, where you sign up for different things that you
Yep.
can move up the ladder or. I don't know
Yep,
how you
so
say it.
I can share that a little bit. So, oh, that's not the right one.
Oh,
Get my, you wanna put, yeah, thank you, Lee, that's perfect. That's what I was looking for right there. So, we have, with our salary schedule, this is something that we put a lot of time in about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's a couple different pieces to it. So, with this, you'll see we are just a smidge under 43, which gets us close to that 45 for the 24-25 school year. The way you move down in steps, one of the things we have done is there are a lot of staff that do a lot of really great stuff that are non-compensated, but we wouldn't be able to do what we do without that. Some of that is going out and, running scoreboards, supervising kids, running PTOs. I can give you a laundry list. So we require staff in a 3-year period, because it's every 3 years you can move down a lane, to present 30, we call it compensation points. And at the end of each year, part of the checkout process is to go through and identify all the things that you did above and beyond your contract that helps kids and helps our district. And that's a way, it's honestly been a very, very nice way for our staff, for us to recognize all those little things that are happening, but also to put some sort of tangible thank you to what they're doing. So that has been good. Now, it hasn't rectified all of our needs. This springs are horrible. There's a time where we had baseball, we had track and softball going on, and we don't have enough staff to cover all those. So then we ask community members, sometimes kids, we do what we can, but it has filled a gap. And that is one of the pieces to move down. Now moving to the right, and Chuck asked this question, this looks very much like the standard old teacher pay scale where we pay you for more college credits and we don't even care what those college credits are, as long as you earn them, you move to the right. That's not what our pay scale is. There are some of our staff that do go on and get their masters. We've had a few staff in the last few years go get their masters in their teaching area to be able to teach college classes. We had a couple get their administrative degrees. But above that, we do something in our district that I haven't found another district that does, that actually allows us to give staff credits for college learning, and that's where the learning credits come in, that do PGPs, and that stands for personal growth plans. We have numerous staff that have been doing wonderful things. I'm gonna pick on Lori Bierman. Lori Bierman, out of the goodness of her heart and just because she is a community-minded person, started taking middle school kids over to Gables on the Pond. Remember, we had that whole agreement with Generations. We first tried to do it with Rams Care, and the kids were too young. Lori picked it up and just did it. She didn't get paid a penny to do it. And now we have our kids interacting in ways that we would never have thought with Generations. So we said to Lori, you know what? This is better than any master's, any college class you could ever take, what you're doing for our kids. So through the PGP process, she's moving herself through the right, doing things that are really impactful for kids. We did the same with a bunch of other staff. When they're doing things that we really think are important, it's a good way to move them to the right and allows us to show them that we appreciate what they're doing. And it's not just about the number of credits you crammed in summer, but actually the impact on kids. So I am really proud of the compensation model we have. I do think the one place that we're falling behind other districts on that top number, that's the 42.9. But I feel like with where our budget is, and the way we are becoming more efficient than we ever been, my goal is to have all of our salary schedules, teachers, sports staff, to be some of the highest around. And we'll just see if we can actually make that happen here in the next few years or so. So that's our schedule. I'll put into that. So that answer your question,
Yes.
Amy? Okay.
Any other questions or discussion?
Just to add to that, what we talked about with the committee meetings was that we're doing this and being mindful with Patty there, that we still stick to our concept of what our mill rate will be and not increasing that, and in fact, trying to get below. So we promised we weren't gonna increase our mill rate, especially with the referendum, and this we think can all be done keeping below our increase of last year.
And when we went to referendum, we promised the community that we wouldn't raise our mill rate. At the time it was 9.24. We settled our mill rate last year at 9.14. So not only did we keep our promise of not increasing our mill rate, we actually decreased it. Our goal is to do similar. Now, you know what, you can hope in one hand and, maybe I shouldn't finish that one, but I really think that we have a plan to be able to keep doing around their efficiencies, grow this, make sure we're mindful for the future, and be more efficient with tax dollars. So it might be a little rainbows and unicorn, but that's what I deal in, and we'll see how the next few years go.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the base wage agreement? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We're gonna do the teacher compensation model.
So that would be the scale there?
Oh, yeah.
What that-
The one is the 4.5%, and then
And
the
then
other one is
the
the actual.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve? Rainey and Chris? All right. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have some staff resignations. Is there a motion to approve with thanks for their years of service? We have Julie Moyer with 10 years. Just her?
Just for professionals.
Just for professionals, all right. Is there a motion to approve? That would be Matt and Chuck. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have approval for new professional staff. Ed teacher Austin Kraus and elementary fifth grade teacher Heather Keller. Is there a motion to approve? We have Chris and Katie. Anything anybody wants to say?
I would just like to add Heather Keller has been a paraprofessional for a few years, and when this opportunity came up, She applied and we're happy to see, that's how you grow your own, right? She's in the classroom working with kids in one way, and this opportunity came up, and now she's able to support kids in another way. So just kind of nice that we can kind of grow within our own family with that. And Austin is new, going to have all kinds of energy for Phi Ed, so it will be interesting. But we're looking forward to both of these individuals joining our team.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have two more resignations. One for retirement of 23 years with Miriam Levitt. And she's been everywhere, I think, in the school. And Jen DeBrew. We thank them for their many years of service, and they will be missed.
Wait a second, did we miss the approval of administrative contract? For Sandy?
You have an old agenda, I believe.
Oh,
This
okay.
is not on the, it's not on the
Kim gave this to me.
thing. This is the one I just got from,
From me,
mhm.
Oh, okay.
it should be on.
Her name one earlier for her.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about
I
that.
don't know. No, you're right there.
No, that should
I
be
don't
it.
know which one is the
Yeah,
updated one now that you're saying, because this one, my original one.
that's
has
your
2
original,
pages.
yeah, it should be the one that's 3 pages.
And
So,
this is the one that Lee just gave me.
okay,
And that one doesn't have.
That one does not have. That one did
yeah,
have.
number 20. And how did this?
You want to?
Oh, no, I have it.
Oh, okay.
I just don't have, is that, did you have 2 or 3 pages originally?
Her is 3.
Or-
That was, that was sort of original, like.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I don't know. Does anyone know?
This is
This is what happens when we let Kim take off.
Yes. I want to see what was posted in the public notice here. I have it right here.
And do we need to do that?
Yes. Yes. It is posted in the posting.
So we can do
is
that.
Approval of administrative contract.
All right,
yes.
so on the agenda that you guys probably have,
Yeah, go to the public notice.
so we have item 20. Otherwise, we've been doing fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
From what you've been,
Yep.
okay. So we'll pop back up to item 20, which is approval of administrative contract. And this is for Mrs. Mountain.
So just a little,
For like a.
3 days.
3 day
Yep.
deal.
yep.
Okay, so. That's just to
That's,
carry us over.
yes. So
My
part,
birthday is July 1st.
Gotcha. All right, is there a motion to approve? Rainey, is there a second? Matt, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we got item 20 on. Okay. Okay. All right, so now we're back to support staff. New
Support salary,
no-
staff
notification, and
rectification.
there's nothing there.
nothing for.
Nobody
20.
has that, okay.
Nor down here.
No new salary, staff, none of that. Informational items, is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so we just did the notification of the support and salaried staff. We don't need an action.
Yep.
Because there's nobody in there. Those are just placeholders.
We leave those on because
Just
they're
in case.
notifications in case we would have somebody between when we post it to.
Okay,
So this time of year, we just kind of leave those
I see.
on. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Okay, informational items, a little bit. So we had our legislative update this morning. And we're very fortunate, I know I've said this many times, the legislators we have in our community. This morning with Terry Katzmo, Devin Lemmyhugh, Amy Binsfield, many times Dewey Strobel comes to our meetings. We are the only county that I know of in the state that has these kind of relationships with our politicians. And you know what? We don't always agree, but we always respectfully have great conversations. And one of the things we have been talking about that I've been kind of on a soapbox for the last few years is how do different kids in different zip codes are worth more or less. We know you can drive about 20 miles south, and those kids are worth $20,000, but our kids are worth $10,000. And really, you know, when you look at it, we have been very frugal, very, very conservative. I think in many cases we offer more with 10,000 than some other districts do with much more. And I think one of the things that allows us is to look for efficiency, look for effectiveness, and then we're always looking at how we sharpen our saw. Well, last week, Thursday, we got the budget, and the low per pupil allocation districts were rewarded in this budget. We have the ability to tax up to next year $11,000 per student, so that'd be $1,000 increase for next year, and the following year would be $11,325. So that's what the budget allows. So Patty and I have run some numbers since we heard this. And because it's our ability to tax that higher number, now is what Chuck had talked about earlier is what does that mean for our mill rate? So we don't know exactly. We may not go for the full 1,000. We may go for 800. We may actually reduce some Fund 80 and put that into Fund 10 so we can get closer to that 1,000. We have levers we can pull, and that will become clear in the next few months. But I feel very fortunate about the position that this board has put this district at this time, because now we're at a place that we have options and we have opportunity. And this, with some sparsity that could be coming in 2 years, puts us in a position of being able to reward our staff for those that have stuck around and trusted in what we're doing. So I feel like as a district, we have been positively rewarded. I do want to say, I think the other flip side of this is other districts that are above that 11,000. They have some tough years ahead of them. $325 increase is what those districts are getting for the next 2 years. And if you think of that $325, that's the first increase those districts will have seen in 3 years because the ESSER funds are gone. So that was interesting to me. And the other piece that is alarming to me is they're allowing us to tax at $11,000 per kid. But Lutheran High will be able to tax any kids that would, from our area that would go to Lutheran High, they get $12,000 a kid. So the state of Wisconsin has now put a number out there for private school voucher kids. That's a higher number than over 50% of school districts in the state of Wisconsin. So they have efficiently now created 2 school systems, 2 public school systems. One that has all kinds of rules, need to worry about special ed, need to transport their kids to their schools, and they get more per student, and we have all the rules. So as we talk about how this journey goes, I do think we were a winner in this budget. We've had some successes. We're gonna have challenges too, so this isn't all rainbows and unicorns. But I as a advocate for public education, I'm fearful of how this has come down, because when we start saying that schools that just cater to college-going kids are worth more than schools that are doing really cool things with getting kids out in the workforce and doing things that communities need, that's a pretty sad message. So that's the good and bad, right? I mean, that's the political world we're in now. You take the good things from it, and but I think it's always good to be aware of those other things that are out there. So with that, it's fitting that our budget was a win, because I really feel like the 22-23 school year was a huge win for our district. We talked about at the retreat, our end of the year celebration. I went over, it was probably 30 slides of all the positive things that our staff have accomplished, our students have done. And what better than last week, Tuesday, getting to go to the Fox Cities and watching our boys play baseball. The result wasn't great, but you know what? Might have been one of my best days ever, sitting at the ballpark, had a Gatorade in front of me, it was sunny, it was warm, it was a beautiful setting, they did an awesome job, so, really, really great year. Thank you to Sandy and everything she's done to get this year and all the last couple of years, thank you to Susan. But it is a year of success, and July 1st starts our new budget, and guess what? All those successes are great, but we start over again, and now we get to reinvent ourselves, and Becky gets to help us with our next chapter. So, really looking forward to where we're gonna be and what we're, going to, accomplish. I did also wanna let you know, if you remember, I was contacted, Safe Routes to School, we had a $25,000 grant that was out there. I was, contacted last week Friday. They may actually fast forward that and give it to us yet this year, which will be fantastic, because if you read the Sounder, the village is doing some really great things, and we're gonna be able to wrap our Safe Routes to School grant into what the community is doing. And that's called, that's the partnership we wanna do is build together with that. So it hasn't been announced, but they asked me, can we come up with $5,000 if they get the grant this year? And I have a couple of our friends in the community that said, I'll give you a $5,000 check right now if you need to. So it may not even be money. So stay tuned for that. But no, all kinds of good stuff as we wrap up this year.
Very exciting. Last, we have a closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statutes, Chapter 19, Section 1985, 1C, to discuss administrative reviews and salaries for 23-24? That was Katie and Matt?
Yep.
All right, this requires a roll call vote. Katie?
Aye.
Matt? I vote yes. Amy?
Yes.
Chris?
Aye.
Rini? Chuck?
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session. We won't be taking any action in open session. So, thank you very much for coming.